Okay, guys, I'm going to read the Torah portion. Today's is January 19th. The Torah is going to be Exodus chapter 10 to chapter 13, verse 16. So, doing out of the Jerusalem Bible. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for it is I who have made his heart and his quarters stubborn, so that I could work these signs of mine among them, so that you can tell your sons and your grandsons how I make fools of the Egyptians, and what signs I performed among them, to let you know that I am Yahweh." So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh. They said to him, "This is the message of Yahweh to the God of the Hebrews. How much longer will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go to offer me worship. If you refuse to let my people go, then tomorrow I'll send locusts over the country. They shall cover the surface of the soil so thick that the soil will not be seen. They shall devour the remainder that is left to you, all that has survived from the hail. They shall devour all your trees growing in the fields. They shall fill your palaces, the houses of your quarters, the houses of all the Egyptians. Your forefathers and your ancestors and their ancestors will never have seen the like since they first lived in the country." Then Moses turned away and left Pharaoh's presence, and Pharaoh's courtiers said to him, "How much longer is this man to be the cause of our trouble? Let the people go to offer worship to Yahweh, their God. Do you not understand that Egypt is now on the brink of ruin?" So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. "You may go," he said to them, "and offer worship to Yahweh your God. But who are you to go? We shall take your young men and our old men," Moses answered. "We shall take our sons and daughters, our flocks, our herds, because for us it is a feast of Yahweh. May Yahweh be with you if ever I let you and your little ones go." Pharaoh retorted, "It is plain you are up to no good. Oh no, you men may go and offer worship to Yahweh, since that is what you wanted." And with that they were dismissed from the presence of Pharaoh. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt to bring the locusts. Let them invade the land of Egypt and devour all its green stuff, all that the hail has left." And over the land of Egypt Moses stretched his staff, and Yahweh brought up an east wind over the land, and it blew all that day and night. By morning the east wind had brought the locusts. The locusts invaded the whole land of Egypt. On the whole territory of Egypt they fell in numbers so great that such swarms has never been seen before, nor would be again. They covered the surface of the soil till the ground was black with them. They devoured all the green stuff in the land, and all the fruit of the trees that the hail had left. No green was left on tree or plant in the fields throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh sent urgently for Moses and Aaron. "I have sinned against Yahweh, your God," he said, "and against yourselves. Forgive my sin, I implore you, this once, and entreat Yahweh your God just to rid me of this deadly plague." So Moses left the presence and interceded with Yahweh. Then Yahweh made the wind veer till it blew so strongly from the west that it caught up the locusts and carried them off towards the Sea of Reeds. There was not one locust left in the whole land of Egypt, but Yahweh made Pharaoh's heart stubborn, and he did not let the sons of Israel go. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand toward Egypt, and let darkness so thick that it can be felt, cover the land of Egypt." So Moses stretched out his hand towards heaven, and for 3 days there was deep darkness over the whole land of Egypt. No one could see anyone else or move about for 3 days. But where the sons of Israel lived, there was light for them. Pharaoh summoned Moses, "Go and offer worship to Yahweh." He said, "But your flocks and herds must remain. Your children may go with you too," Moses replied, "but you must let us have means of offering sacrifices and holocausts to Yahweh our God. Our livestock too must go with us. Not one head of cattle must be left behind. It must be from our livestock that we provide for the worship of Yahweh our God. Until we reach the place we do not know ourselves what worship we shall have to offer Yahweh." But Yahweh made Pharaoh's heart stubborn and refused to let them go. Pharaoh said to Moses, "Out of my sight, take care. Never appear before me again, for on that day you do, you die." Moses replied, you yourself have said it. Never again shall I appear before you." Then Yahweh said to Moses, "One disaster more I will bring on Pharaoh and on Egypt, just one. After this he will let you go from there. Indeed, he will drive you out. Instruct the people that every man is to ask his neighbor, every woman hers, for silver ornaments and gold." And Yahweh gave the people prestige in the eyes of the Egyptians, while Moses himself was a man of great importance in the land of Egypt, and of high prestige with Pharaoh's quarters and with his people. Moses said, "This is Yahweh's message. Towards midnight I shall pass through Egypt. All the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh's heir to his throne to the firstborn of the maidservants at the mill, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And throughout the land of Egypt there shall be such a wailing as never heard before, nor will be again. But against the sons of Israel, against man or beast, never a dog shall bark, so that you may know that Yahweh discriminates between Egypt and Israel. Then shall these quarters of yours will come down to me and bow low before me and say, Go away, you and all the people who follow you. After this I will go, and hot with anger, Moses left Pharaoh's presence. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt." All these wonders Moses and Aaron worked in the presence of Pharaoh, but Yahweh made Pharaoh's heart stubborn, and he did not let the sons of Israel leave his country. Chapter 12. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month is to be the first of all the others for you, the first month of your year. Speak to the whole community of Israel and say, on the 10th day of this month, each man shall take an animal from the flock, one for each family, one animal for each household. If the household is too small to eat the animal, a man must join with his neighbor, he nearest to his house, as the number of persons requires. You shall take into account what each can eat in deciding the number for the animal. It must be an animal without blemish, a male 1 year old. You may take it from either sheep or goats. You must keep it till the 14th day of the month, when the whole assembly of the community of Israel shall slaughter it between the 2 evenings. Some of the blood must then be taken and put on the 2 doorposts and the lintels of the house where it is eaten. That night the flesh is beaten, roasted over the fire. It must be eaten with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled, but roasted over the fire, head, feet, and entrails. You must not leave any over till the morning. Whatever is left till morning you are to burn. You shall eat it like this, with a girdle around your waist, sandals on your feet, a staff in your hand. You shall eat it hastily. It is Passover, in honor of Yahweh. That night I will go through the land of Egypt. I will strike down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, man and beast alike. I shall dwell out punishment to all the gods of Egypt. I am Yahweh. The blood shall serve to mark the house that you live in. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and you shall escape the destroying plague when I strike the land of Egypt. This day is to be a day of remembrance for you, and you must celebrate it as a feast in Yahweh's honor. For all generations you are to declare it a day of festival forever. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to clean all the leaven out of your houses. For anyone who eats leavened bread from the 1st to the 7th day shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you are to hold a sacred gathering, and again on the 7th day. On those days no work is to be done. You are allowed only to prepare your food. The feast of unleavened bread must be kept, because it is on the same day that I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Keep that day from age to age. It is an irrevocable ordinance. In the first month, from the evening of the 14th day and until the evening of the 21st day, you are to eat unleavened bread. For 7 days no leaven must be found in your house, because anyone who eats leavened bread will be cut off from the community of Israel, whether he be stranger or native born. You must eat no leavened bread. Wherever you live, you must eat unleavened bread. Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and choose animals from the flocks on behalf of your families, and kill the Passover victim. Then take a spray of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and with the blood from the basin touch the lintels and the 2 doorposts. Let none of you venture out of the house till morning. Then, when Yahweh goes through Egypt to strike it, and sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, he will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to enter your homes and strike. You must keep these rules as an ordinance for all time for you and your children. When you enter the land that Yahweh has given you, as he promised, you must keep to this ritual. And when your children ask you, what does this ritual mean? You will tell them, it is the sacrifice of the Passover in honor of Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt, and struck Egypt, but spared our houses. And the people bowed down and worshipped. The sons of Israel then departed, and they obeyed. They carried out the orders of Yahweh had given to Moses and Aaron. And at midnight Yahweh struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of Pharaoh, heir to his throne, the firstborn of the prisoner in his dungeon, and the firstborn of all the cattle. Pharaoh and all his courtiers and all the Egyptians got up in the night, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house without its dead. And it was night when Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. Get up, he said, you and the sons of Israel, and get away from my people. Go and offer worship to Yahweh as you have asked. And as you have asked, take your flocks and herds and go. And also take a blessing on me. The Egyptians urged the people to hurry up and leave the land, because they said, otherwise we shall all be dead. So the people carried off their dough, still unleavened, on their shoulders, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks. The sons of Israel did as Moses had told them, and asked the Egyptians for silver ornaments and gold and for clothing. Yahweh gave the people such prestige in the eyes of the Egyptians that they gave them what they asked, so they plundered the Egyptians. The sons of Israel left Ramses for Succoth, about 600,000 on the march, all men, not counting their families. People of various sorts joined them in great numbers. There were flocks, too, and herds in immense droves. They baked caves with the dough which they had brought from Egypt, unleavened, because the dough was not leavened. They had been driven out of Egypt with no time for dallying, and they had not provided themselves with food for their journey. The time that the sons of Israel had spent in Egypt was 430 years. And on the very day the 430 years ended, all the array of Yahweh left the land of Egypt. The night when Yahweh kept vigil to bring them out of the land of Egypt must be kept as a vigil in honor of Yahweh for all their generations. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, this is what is ordained for the Passover. No alien may take part in it, but any slave bought for money may take part when you have had him circumcised. No stranger and no hired servants may take part in it. It is to be eaten in one house alone, out of which not a single morsel of flesh is to be taken, nor must you break any bone of it. The whole community of Israel must keep the Passover. Should a stranger be staying with you and wish to celebrate the Passover in honor of Yahweh, all the males of his household must be circumcised. He may then be admitted to the celebration, for he becomes as it were a native born. But no uncircumcised person may take part. The same law will run for the native and for the stranger resides among you, and for the stranger resident among you. The sons of Israel all obeyed. They carried out the orders of Yahweh and had given to Moses and Aaron. And that same day Yahweh brought the sons of Israel and their armies out of Egypt. Chapter 13. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, consecrate all the firstborn to me, the first issue of every womb among the sons of Israel, whether man or beast. This is mine. Moses said to the people, keep this day in remembrance, the day you came out of Egypt, from the house of slavery, for it is by sheer power that Yahweh brought you out of it. No leavened bread must be eaten. On this day, in the month of Abib, you are leaving Egypt. And so, in this same month, when Yahweh brings you to the land of Canaanites and the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, the land he swore to your fathers he will give you, a land where milk and honey flow, you are to hold the service. For 7 days you will eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is to be a feast in honor of Yahweh. During these 7 days unleavened bread is to be eaten. No leavened bread must be seen among you, no leaven among you in all your territory. And on that day you will explain to your son, this is because of what Yahweh did for me when I came out of Egypt. The right will serve as a sign on your hand would serve, or a memento on your forehead, and in that way the law of Yahweh will be ever on your lips, for Yahweh brought you out of Egypt with a mighty hand. You will observe this ordinance each year at its appointed time. When Yahweh brings you to the land of Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers he would do, and he gives it to you, you are to make over to Yahweh all that first issues from the womb, and every firstborn cast by your animals. These males belong to Yahweh. But every firstborn donkey you will redeem with the animal from your flock. But if you do not redeem it, you must break its neck. Of your sons, every firstborn of man must be redeemed. And when your sons ask you in the days to come, what does this mean? You will tell him, by sheer power, Yahweh brought us out of Egypt and out of the house of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Yahweh killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, of man and of beast alike. For this I sacrifice to Yahweh every male that first issues from the womb, and redeem every firstborn of my sons. The right will serve as a sign on your hand, or a circlet on your forehead, for Yahweh brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. That was chapter 13 to verse 16. So now to the prophets, Jeremiah, chapter 46. Chapter 46, verses 13 through 28. The word that Yahweh addressed to the prophet Jeremiah when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, set out to attack the land of Egypt. Publish it in Migdal, proclaim it in Noph. Say to your posts at the ready, for the sword is devouring around you. What has Apis fled? Has your strong one not stood firm? Yes, Yahweh has knocked him flat. He tottered, and now he has fallen down. Then they said to each other, up, let us go back to our own people, to the country where we were born, far from the destroying sword. Give this name to Pharaoh. Much noise, but he lets the chance slip by. As I live, it is the king who speaks, whose name is Yahweh Sabaoth. Someone will come, a Tabor among mountains, a Carmel high above the sea. Get your bundle ready for exile, daughter of Egypt, so safe in your home. Noph will be reduced to a desert, desolate, uninhabited. Egypt was a splendid heifer, but a gadfly from the north has settled on her. The mercenaries she had with her, these two were as sleek as fattened calves, but they too have taken to their heels. They all run at once and cannot hold the ground, for on them comes the day of the disaster, their time of reckoning. Listen, it sounds like a serpent hissing. Yes, they are coming in force, to fall on her with their axes, with woodcutters. They will fell her force. It is Yahweh who speaks. Yes, they are past counting, outnumbering the locusts, innumerable. The daughter of Egypt is put to shame, handed over to the people from the north. Yahweh Sabaoth, the God of Israel, has said, Now I mean to punish Ammon of Non. With Pharaoh and those who put their trust in him, I will hand him over to those who are determined to kill him, over to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, over to his servants. But in later days, Egypt will be inhabited again in its past. It is Yahweh who speaks. But do not be afraid, my servant Jacob. Israel, do not be alarmed. Look, I will rescue you from distant countries, and your descendants from the countries where they are captive. Jacob will have quiet again and live at ease, with no one to trouble him. Do not be afraid, my servant Jacob. It is Yahweh who speaks, for I am with you. I will make an end of all the nations where I have scattered you. I will not make end of you, only discipline you in moderation, so as not to let you go entirely unpunished. Next is John 19 for the gospel. Verses 31 through 37. So, John 19, 31 through 37. It was the preparation day, and to prevent the bodies remaining on the cross during the Sabbath, since that Sabbath was a day of special solemnity, the Jews asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies taken away. Consequently, the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with him, and then of the other. When they came to Jesus, they found he was already dead. And so instead of breaking his legs, one of the soldiers pierced his side with a lance, and immediately there came out blood and water. This is the evidence of one who saw it, trustworthy evidence, and he knows he speaks the truth. And he gives it so that you may believe as well, because all this happened to fulfill the words of Scripture. Not one bone of his will be broken. And again, in another place, Scripture says, they will look on the one whom they have pierced. That was the end of the Torah portion for this Saturday. God bless.